Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And indeed, here we are once again. It's Saturday night, 9 o'clock, your favourite time of the week, our favourite time of the week, and of course, a bit of a special because what has been going on today, yes, you're right, you're way ahead of us, it's Coronation Day, so this is a bit of our Coronation Special with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along. And I was going to say, have you guessed what it's for yet? Not just the extra bank holiday special. Of course, we're right royally pleased to present for royal assent a selection of kingly and indeed queenly tunes to celebrate the coronation of their Majesties King Charles and Queen Camilla, proving that good things do come to those who wait. And perhaps Charles deserves an additional honour for patience. So, H, what's been swinging up your mall, so to speak, and what's run the flag up your pole?
A lovely thought. Well, I thought you can't have a coronation without a bit of marching and cheering, perhaps. We'll be meeting the King of Aberdeen, and we'll be going into the Royal Garden for, a bit of blues, I suppose.
And for me, a sprightly two-step, a king with real rhythm, not Louis XIV, but a solar sensation. And to get things rolling, here's Catherine Winfeld and her band with King of Spring. Doors to Manual as we disembark from Aircraft, the debut album from the multi-award winning Catherine Winfeld Big Band. Pianist and composer Catherine was a winner of the European Jazz Rising Stars Prize, and indeed her debut album won the Danish Grammy. The prize was originally called the Ipfi Prisen, changed its name to the Danish Grammy in 1991, and then was forced to change its name again to the Danish Music Award in 2001 after the Americans registered Grammy as their trademark. However, great achievement, first time out. And those of you with long memories may remember we had Catherine on the show a couple of years ago.
Lovely she was.
And we interviewed her. She was absolutely charming, and we interviewed her backstage at Ronnie Scott's. And her and a big band have continued to produce fantastic music. And as it happens, Charles is indeed the king of spring.
Indeed, very appropriately as well. He's also, I suppose, coming up with the one I'm thinking of next. It's hard to think of it, bearing in mind he's only been having the coronation tomorrow. The word isn't coronated, and I can't think what it is. I heard someone on the BBC saying coronated the other day, but that's not the right word, I don't think. However, he will be obviously officially crowned the king tomorrow. But like all kings, all monarchs, I guess, no matter how long, even though like his mother before him, who was there for 70-odd years, it is something of a job for as long as you're there. And all kings, I guess, are temporary, as indeed you might well be the case, as Mark Turner and Ethan Iverson said on their album on ECM a few years back. Temporary kings. Fading off into the distance, Temporary Kings, a nice album, another one of those slow burners, as we often refer to them. 2018 on ECM, Mark Turner on tenor saxophone and Ethan Iverson on the piano. A very nice laid-back one. Mark Turner gets all over the place, of course. Fine player, very sort of reserved, academic sort of saxophonist, and I think he makes every note count. You always think he's thinking about things, a deep thinker, not one of those wild blowing saxophonists if you get my drift. And Ethan Iverson, quite a character, quite spiky, like his piano playing in many ways. Most famous perhaps for playing with the Bad Plus, and eventually I don't think the Bad Plus went bad. I think they decided to go their separate ways, and he also does quite a lot of blogging. He's got a Do the Math, I think he calls it, which is I think a blog he's been running for ages, which covers all sorts of things, musical and otherwise. But a fine musician. I've met him once or twice, and he didn't seem a nice enough chap, although we've never actually interviewed him on the show. We'll try and
we chatted to him a number of times, but never actually got the interview. But we did interview the current.
Well, we did the Bad Plus, but he'd gone by the time.
Yes, he'd gone by then.
Yeah.
Now, next to bow before the King and Queen, we have a Scottish sax player, Brian Molly, along with his quartet, and perhaps asking the newly crowned couple to take the floor for a celebratory jig. Here's the Nimble Royals. Very nice indeed. Taken from saxman Brian Molly's third release, Modern Traditions, that was, The Nimble Royals, one of Brian's original composition. In fact, his fourth album we haven't had on the show yet, but it's a nice sort of Indo-jazz fusions kind of feel to it. The quartet are Tom Gibbs on piano, Brodie Jarvie, great name that, Brodie Jarvie, on bass, Stuart Brown on the drums, led by the fantastic sax playing of Brian Molly. A lovely set of tunes, all fitting into the modern jazz tradition, hence the name of Modern Traditions for the album, and lots of great different influences from Scottish music as far as Winton and Branford cited.
Great stuff. It is Jumping In. We're doing our little Coronation Special. Well, of course, why not? You had to. Everything's Coronation themed. It only happens, I was going to say once in a lifetime. I suppose it might happen twice in a lifetime for some people now, but you know what I mean. In any case, it could be another few years, and it was certainly a long time that Queen Elizabeth was on the throne. I think Charles will have to go some to match his mother's reign, live to a good old age. However, what do you get a lot at any of these events? Pomp and ceremony, of course. Usually, I was going to say good weather. I think we're going to get a bit of rain as well. But you also get a lot of marching and a lot of cheering. And so I thought this one seemed to be a bit of a must. The Mike Westbrook Concert Band. The album's called Marching Song, and this track's called Hooray! quirky and brilliant in equal measure, which is pretty much summing up Mike Westbrook and his work, really. Marching Songs Volume 1 and 2, which originally came out, I think, in Decca on the 60s and was re-released, certainly whenever I picked up this CD copy, which is on a Right to Psalm Records. And even that, I think, I've had for a good sort of 10, 15 years. In 2009, looking at the release date on it, a who's who of a lot of British jazz royalty, including, I think, John Sermon, often playing with him. Sometimes difficult to get into. Sometimes can be very, very quirky. Often got a real theme or got a message to make and doesn't hang around and why he's going to do it. But you get all sorts of people in it, the likes of Mike Westbrook himself, of course, on piano. Kenny Wheeler, featuring, I think he features later on this evening as well. He's in the mix there on trumpet and flugelhorn. Tony Fishy, Henry Lowther, Malcolm Griffiths, Mike Gibbs, Martin Fry, John Sermon, Mike Osborne. The list goes on and on. Like I said, a veritable who's who of jazz royalty from the 60s and 70s. A great one, that. Hooray! Appropriately enough.
Pretty much all of those good jazz leaders in their own right as well. But next it's time for some official jazz royalty. Here's Count Basie, the king of swing himself, with, aptly enough, The King. Still swinging today. You can't beat that. It originally released back in 1946 as the B-side of a 10-inch 78. But in this case, from a great 10-disc CD set I got a number of years ago now. It's called L'Histoire des Big Band 1914 to 1955 on the French Le Chant du Monde label. Still sounding great 77 years later, which incidentally was 3 years before the King was born.
What a thought. We are going to go north of the border. The king has been crowned, so they say. Whether they appreciate that north of the border or not, I don't know. But there is, apparently, a King of Aberdeen.
Hello, this is Katrine Windfeld from Denmark, and you're listening to the Manx Radio Jumping In with Chris and H.
Ah, yes, classic stuff. Royal Garden Blues. A young Branford Marsalis, going back in the day, very young. Look at him, looks like he's barely out of short pants, as they say, on soprano sax there. I thought Clarence Williams was as well at one stage and looked at it, but of course he wrote the song, didn't he? Larry Willis on piano, Ron Carter bass, fantastic drumming from Al Foster, so laid back, and yet so difficult to do that effectively all the way through. From his album of the same name, Royal Garden Blues, from back in the 80s. And before that we heard the King of Aberdeen, I think the second or third outing from Polar Bear, now disbanded of course. Mark Lockhart on tenor, Pete Wareham on tenor, Tom Herbert double bass, and of course Seb Rochford on drums. I think Leafcutter John, the electronics man, pops up on one or two tracks on that one as well.
All of those still active in various different and interesting combinations. Well, that's just about it for this regal edition of Jumpin' In. I hope the Royalists amongst you are enjoying your own celebrations or street parties this weekend, wherever you are. And if you're a Republican, well, you can just retire to the pub. We've just about time to sit in a track from the self-titled album Kenny Wheeler, Peter O'Mara, Wayne Darling, Bill Elgart, released in 1991 on the German Koala Records label. The disc is a must for Kenny completists and interestingly features one of the earliest versions of a Wheeler original which became his signature piece, Everybody's Song But My Own. Well, this next one was not one of his own compositions, but one from guitarist Peter O'Mara. Here's Sun King, and normal reservice will be resumed next week. Long live the King and Queen. Thinking about it, it's going to make the English national anthem a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Ah, indeed. Long live the King.
See you next week.
Bye.